Welcome to the D6 Family Ministry Podcast, a place where ideas, principles, and personalities come together to give you a ministry advantage that empowers the church and home.
I don't know anything more important in our society or in the kingdom of God than to help the church, help the family.
Discipleship is not an event, it's a way of life.
And one day it just hit me that discipleship at home was not about doing more. It was about inviting Christ into what we were already doing.
The goal of family ministry is not families sitting on the couch holding hands and singing Kumbaya. The ultimate goal is families that love God, love people, and make disciples of all peoples.
So that's why you're here. You're here to say 1 hour a week, as significant and as awesome as it is, we know that it's not enough and we want to be intentional with every hour.
You're listening to the D6 Podcast. Here are your hosts, Marianne Howard, Ron Hunter, and Josh Wooten.
Okay, question for you. You know, we're just a little bit away from Easter here. I want to know how many of you guys woke up, and this is the key. How many of you woke up on Sunday morning on Easter and you found an Easter basket sitting somewhere in your house?
Yes. I had an Easter basket, even the chocolate bunny. The big chocolate bunny usually was in the basket, and lots of candy, and then usually something kind of pointing towards spring. I would always get a new Easter dress and white shoes.
Oh, white shoes, yes.
Yes,
I remember. Josh, did you get white shoes?
I did not get white shoes. Maybe one year I probably got some of those Buster Browns, like those white and black saddle shoes, because it never failed. I would have a suit every year, you know, the pastel colors with the ties and everything, three-piece, whatever.
Three-piece, yes, with the best.
And I was not allowed to eat the ears off the chocolate bunny in that suit. I had to get rid of all the candy before I put the suit on. But yes, my grandmother always made sure that we had new Easter clothes, and our family was, we would go to church, we would come home and eat lunch, and we would have Easter egg hunt. But our Easter egg hunts were not near as good as the Easter egg hunts that are going down in the Howard house, I hear.
Yes. So I will tell you, my husband is a ministry leader, and we celebrate Jesus, the risen Lord. Our focus is on Jesus, but I want you guys to know that our home, we do money eggs.
Nice. Wow.
Ron's daughter, Lauren, is like, I need to understand money eggs because I might need to participate in that.
Amen.
Yes, that's hilarious. I love it. You know, money eggs, if you don't find them all, that's not harmful.
No, it isn't.
If you color real Easter eggs, and I remember one year we had a rainy Easter, we hid eggs in the house. And there was one we couldn't remember where we hid.
No.
Until 2 or 3 days later.
Now,
and
Ron,
you smelled it to find it.
Yes.
Ron, you realize these money eggs that your daughter wants to know more about. You know who's going to wind up putting the money in these eggs and whose money this is, right?
That's right. And she's going to blame me for why she didn't have money eggs to find when she was growing up with her brother.
Yeah. And I'm going to tell you, Chad does not play. He's like, they're not little kids anymore. They're preteens and teens. I'm hiding the money eggs. You have to work for the money eggs. So he does. He hides the money eggs. We have a golden egg that has even more money in it. That's the big golden egg. And we celebrate Jesus, but we do money eggs.
I see Monopoly and Easter merging into one concept here. Don't you, Josh?
I do want to come over and visit the Howards one Easter for their excellent Easter egg extravaganza adventure that they've got going on.
Absolutely. That's hilarious. Well, you know what? When we think about those incredible finds, there's one that we want you to know about from Randall House and your D6 Family Ministry. And we have a brand new Easter adventure for you. It is not finding money eggs, mind you, but I will tell you, it is an adventure that you will so enjoy with all of your kids, regardless of the age. We have some brand new stories written by an amazing author who wrote 12 stories that you read this short little snippet. It's a small, compact story. And then there's a fun item, an activity, craft, an edible, little things that you can do leading into the wonderful celebration of Easter, keeping the focus where it is, keeping your family time where it is. And I'm going to tell you, I'm really concerned. We're kind of recording this ahead of time. And I'm concerned that by the time this airs, we're going to be sold out. And I'm just being very honest with you based on the history and track record of our Christmas Advent and our Christmas guides that we have published in the past. We tend to run out and people get upset because they're trying to order right up close to time. So if you're hearing this, I wouldn't delay. I would go ahead and jump on that and give them an order. And when we come back on the other side, we're going to have another find, and that is the incredible insight of Michelle Craddock.
We are joined today by Miss Michelle Craddock. Michelle is the Associate Equipping Minister at her church. She graduated from North Greenville University in South Carolina with a degree in student ministry. She is married to Michael, and they are raising two amazing boys in San Antonio, Texas. God worked through several life-altering events to give her a love for ministry. Mm-hmm. Michelle, I'm so excited that you're here. A fellow boy mom. Yes. I've got four, and you've got two.
Oh, I can learn some stuff from you.
Let's go make a basketball team. Yeah. That would be fun. I'm so glad that you're here today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, you just tell us a little bit about, how did God lead you into student ministry?
Mm-hmm. I think it had a lot to do with the people who God brought into my life as I was growing up. I think, of course, my parents giving me the opportunity and experiences within my church, my local church, to serve in various ways, not just in the student ministry, but all throughout the church, and allowing people of an older generation to speak into my life where my gifts could be encouraged, and just throughout life, that's the people speaking into my life was really what led me into student ministry.
Yeah, I hear that a lot from people who are impacting the next generation, that it was the generation before that spoke into my life, and now I'm passing the torch on.
That's right.
I think that's beautiful. And speaking of, you love to equip. I mean, part of your position is equipping, right? You love to partner with parents, which is 1,000% what D6 is about, right?
Yes.
What is it that you love about equipping and partnering with parents?
Oh my gosh, do we have all day? Because it is
maybe not, but yes, I want to hear it. I want to hear it.
It's what gets me up in the morning.
Yeah.
I know that sounds really cliche, but it's true. The opportunities, at least within our church body, the place that I serve, we have so many opportunities to equip parents in ways that they couldn't maybe equip themselves. So bringing them tools and even knowledge of just what's going on in the world and how to equip them to raise their children through what's going on in the world. But one of my very favorite things is being able to minister to the hearts of parents and just almost grabbing them by the face and saying, you can do this. Yeah. You can absolutely do this. Another thing that I love is when a parent says to me, my kid isn't going to listen to me. He doesn't listen to me, so I need you to talk to him. But to be able to speak back to them and say, it doesn't have to be that way. They can and they will listen to you. And let's change that narrative to you are the main spiritual influence in their life. Whether the kid knows it or not, or the kid acts like it or not, you get to speak into your child before anybody else. So just vision casting for parents that they get to do this. It's just one of my favorite things. So.
Well, being in student ministry myself, there have been so many times where parents have come to me and said, thank you for saying that because I've been saying that and now my kid understands. And then you realize, yes, parent, you are the one that spoke to that. And then I just came behind and reinforced.
Exactly.
And then it's like, oh, my parent was right. You know,
it's a true partnership.
It is. I absolutely love that.
Yeah.
So How has this last year given you new opportunities? Have you seen different ways to equip or engage with parents over this crazy year that we've been living?
Right. A lot of what we do at the church where I serve is leading parents to have a conversation or teaching them how to have conversations with their children. So we had ways before COVID to do that. But what we did, we do a lot of programs and a lot of events for our parents. We shifted those to Zoom. So a lot of what we did before COVID was like, well, it's still valuable. The purpose of it is still needed. So let's shift that. So allowing parents to find community on Zoom when everything was in lockdown and we couldn't see each other, and giving them opportunities and experiences that they couldn't necessarily create on their own, to learn how to have different conversations with their children. But all of it coming from in-person, moving strictly to Zoom. So we shifted pretty quickly last spring when all of that happened.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Now that life is somewhat turning a corner and things are kind of coming back, what was it that you implemented that you're able to carry on now into life as we now know it?
Right. We implemented within taking some things from Zoom, knowing that parents wanted community and needed community, and things aren't quite back in person yet, that we're getting there. We were able to launch a few things in person on Sunday mornings to continue to give parents that community and that place to talk. So we have a class for middle school parents and high school parents. That's one class. They're equipped in different ways, but also giving community. And then we have another class for the younger age, elementary on down, those parents that gives them tools and knowledge to equip them to raise their children, but also community around parents that have the same, like-minded parents of the same age.
Right.
So,
do you have student ministry leaders that are leading those groups, or who leads those?
We have different leaders throughout our church. So they're not student ministry leaders, but they have some experience in some type of family ministry, whether it's a volunteer, but they're passionate about parenting. They, for the most part, the older kids class, the people who lead that, their kids are out of the home now. So they have been through that phase. The parents who lead the younger kids class, their kids are now older, so they've been through that phase. So we've intentionally asked people to lead that class that have, they've been through that stage of life with their children. So
would you say that lends itself to discipleship even with parents?
Yes, absolutely. Because parents are like, tell me what to do. Tell me what to do. And they love it. They love it. So it's not, and we don't just have one couple or one person leading that class. There are multiple people who have been through that phase of life that pour into those parents. So it's now we see parents, all throughout the week reaching out to those leaders saying, will you just pray for me? Just for the parents to have access to somebody to vent or to say, will you pray for me, has been just so invaluable and very much led to discipleship.
That sounds like intergenerational discipleship.
It is.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah.
I mean, how in Scripture it's very clear that we are to pass this on from one generation to the next, and it doesn't necessarily mean a bloodline. It's just investing in the next generation, and that is amazing. So let's talk to student ministry leaders for a second.
Right.
What are some resources that you would say you have to have this resource? You have to be plugged in here, something that every student ministry leader needs?
Well, I'm going to kind of throw something out there that might be a little different, is having some professionals, meaning probably in a church body, there is a doctor or a pediatrician or a counselor, having that person that you can go to and say, look, this is my situation. This is what's going on with this family. And just a go-to kind of person has been very valuable to me, been very valuable to our student ministry. And even having them serve along with you in some type of volunteer role, just to be able to have them right there with you so you can ask questions, get advice from them. I would also say having parents who've been through it as another resource, just for encouragement and a different perspective on parenting or on student ministry in general. I think those are different resources that maybe you wouldn't normally think of, but I think they're really valuable. One other resource that I'm just going to throw out there is nexttalk.org. I've mentioned that we have place huge value on learning how to have conversations with our kids. So Next Talk talks about parenting in a digital world, and they focus a lot on conversation. Well, how do you start those conversations? Not necessarily how do you put an app in place that will block all the social media posts or all the internet stuff, but how do you have conversations? So that's a really great, more practical, tangible tool for student ministers to get a hold of.
I think parents feel like they're drowning, their busy schedules, sports or band or dance or whatever else is going on in their kids' lives, plus they're working and trying to pay bills.
Yes.
They're also have been walking through a pandemic. But then you throw in, like you just said, like cyber parenting. That was not a thing when we were growing up, and thank the Lord it wasn't.
I know,
but
right?
I mean, it's literally so the generation of parents pouring into this generation, they didn't necessarily have that.
Right.
So how do you kind of step into that role and equip those parents, like with those resources? How do you equip someone to be a good, intentional cyber parent? What are some conversations or things that you do to equip your parents that way?
Right. Well, gosh, I could, again, talk about this forever, but I think a lot of it is a lot of things. One thing I tell parents is to enter the child's world. So don't freak out. Don't do any of that, but ask questions. So if I'm just going to throw Fortnite out there, and the parent knows nothing about Fortnite, and the parent probably doesn't care about Fortnite.
Right.
But act
That's
like
me.
it.
I don't care about Fortnite.
I know. I don't either. I don't understand it. I can't even do the controller.
I know.
Anyway.
Yeah.
But ask questions like, what's your favorite, I don't even know if this is a thing, but like, what's your favorite character on Fortnite? Which one do you like to be asking questions and getting to know. And it starts with those small conversations that lead to bigger and more difficult conversations with their kids. Just acting interested in what their kids are interested in. So that's a open door for the harder conversations that will come. Also, not being afraid. Don't be afraid to talk about things, and also don't be afraid to not know every answer or not even know how to talk about it. So, I mean, starting with that small conversation really is huge.
I had a conversation with my 12-year-old the other day. He saw my phone open and saw a particular app that I had. It's a social media app. And he said, "You have that app?" And I'm like, what does that even mean? I was so offended.
You're like, wait a second. Let's go back to that.
Yeah. So how can we have those conversations with our kids that, like, I may not be like active on this social media platform, but I have my eyes on this social media platform. And in student ministry, I have my eyes on students.
Yes.
But also like with our kids and stuff like that. How can we have those types of conversation to where our kids just understand that we are interested in what they're interested in, but also we want to be invested in those things.
Yeah, I think one neat and maybe even fun thing to do is to, and I've done this with my son, is to open up the app and say, this is why I have it. Let me show you this really cool thing that I found on here. So it doesn't make it this big scary thing, but it's it kind of shifts there like, oh, okay, so mom looks up recipes. All right, that's awesome.
Which he's like, I don't care.
But it kind of levels the playing ground a little bit, and again opens up conversation, and then you can in turn say, well, like, so what do you see? What do you see on your app? Let's look up yours and see if maybe, can I follow you? I mean, just stuff like that. And a student minister can do that. It just evens things out between each other. So.
Yeah, I love that. Well, thank you so much for all of your insights, Michelle. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it. I feel like we're new friends.
Yes, we are.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Are you concerned about your church's future? Will it serve another generation? The Bible says He is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and yet we often only know how to connect to Abraham. Let D6 help you connect with each generation. Your kids and grandkids are counting on you. D6 comes from the principles of Deuteronomy 6 and helps what happens in church also happen at home. Curriculum you can trust. Discipleship that connects.
Well, thank you, Michelle, for that word, lots of words of wisdom. But there was one part I wanted to camp out on. And, sometimes as a ministry leader, we don't know how to utilize all the experts that are around us in the way of parents. We think we've got to own it all. And I don't mean that from a prideful and arrogant way or in any way. We just sometimes feel like, well, that's my job or that's what I'm getting paid for. And I will tell you, the best thing you can do is bring those competent people close. Bring competent people close. I'm a big fan of having an advisory group, and you could easily pick out in your ministry, depending on the size of it, try to pick out, somewhere between 5, 7, or 9 families or couples or people that will form your advisory group. And they're the people who you want to run ideas by before you release them publicly, or you want to talk about how this implements or how to make it better. And when you do that, they will give you buy-in, and then they'll start telling their friends about the exciting things coming up. And all of a sudden your marketing's already a third or half done just by you working with an advisory team. Josh, have you used an advisory team?
Yes. And one of the things I would recommend is finding parents in different seasons of parenting and life. Everybody from the new parents with preschoolers, elementary age, and even those empty nesters that have been through it and could have some wisdom to impart. And that I think it's important to have different perspectives and voices from your church family within that, and not just one group of parents.
Absolutely. I feel like building your council or your community around you is going to be so important to the success of and implementation of spiritual discipleship, in the home. And I love that she brought up different, she's kind of leveraging some of the gifts inside of her church in terms of we have several LPCs in our church, and we have a couple of doctors, and we have different people with different giftings. And I like having those experts, having a doctor or a pediatrician that's already in your faith family. They've got very good perspective on children and, development and just some of those things. And we need them. We need broader perspectives than our own limited one.
and highly recommend pulling people in from the school community, teachers, administrators, people that are boots on the ground dealing with those kids on a week in, week out basis, that they're going to have insight and know kids a lot better than most.
Can I tell you, I wanted to just speak into when you're building your community around you, that you're not looking for perfect people. You're looking for people who model dependence. You're looking for people that say, you're not looking for the perfect parent out there. It doesn't exist. Even if they perceive to be perfect, then red flag. You want to surround yourself with people that model dependence on Jesus and model that, being real, and model, that they're trying to be consistent with spiritual investment.
That's right. I was going to say something similar, Marianne, when I was jumping in, is that, it sounds really good. There's people who love to have the doctor or a licensed practical counselor, in there, or any other teacher in there. But I would say, make sure that the representation on your advisory group represents the kids in your ministry. So you'll need maybe that single mom who may be working a full-time job and a part-time job, but understands what it's like to do what it takes to sacrifice to get by, that doesn't make that medical degree income. Have the diversity, but people who are godly, who will make decisions based upon the whole group, not just what their own family personal dynamics are all about.
That's right.
So that would be my wisdom. And if you do that, it will save you a lot of heartache. When you start setting up trips and logistics and plans and new concepts and new rollouts and changes that you want to do, if this committee is one you work with, and let me give you this insight too. If you have this committee, don't inform the committee, allow them to speak into it and even veto something you're doing. And I know that means you've got to suspend a little bit of your pride in there, but if they raise a red flag, there's a reason. And you need to pause and listen.
That is so true. You know, I think as you go along these resources and we talk about this committee, it's exactly, I think, the way Jesus designed the church to be, one body working together. It's not just about the head. It's about the body coming together to do life, to serve one another. And your church is going to be stronger. People are going to be more connected and more committed when they feel like they do have value. You're not creating consumers. You value their input. They feel like they have ownership within this, and they feel like it is their ministry. And ultimately, as leaders, that's what we're supposed to do: empower the saints for the work of the ministry. And I think it's a beautiful thing that Michelle touched on there and led us to. And very grateful for her insight, her wisdom, and for that interview.
Very good. Well, we're looking forward to Dr. Michael Wilder next week. And boy, is he going to bring it. It's going to be a topic slightly different than what you're accustomed to hearing. And he's quite a leader. And that's what he's going to unpack for us as some leader areas. So until next week, look for ways to better utilize the parents of the kids in your ministry in ways that will make your ministry better, but also make the experience better for those kiddos. We're praying for you. Step into intentional moments. We'll talk to you next week.
You've been listening to the D6 Podcast. You can learn more about D6 at d6family.com.